Hey, it's Steve Barcelo, Cryptozoology Paranormal Museum, where we're sitting in the cemetery, which I been taking care of. It's kind of fallen into our department. I'm a town commissioner in Little Town, Littleton. I thought it would just be apropos, since I'm going to start. I figured this would be the first little video talking about the Long Island serial killers. I've got myself some crib notes because it's been almost 8 years since I've really done this. I mean, I've been interviewed on Discovery ID, Twisted Sisters, and some podcasts, and I've been going through so many old hard drives. But it's good. I figured I'll do a multi video on this. It'll probably be like 5 or 6 easy. It's so much going on. It's such a long and convoluted story. So this one will be kind of just an introduction and just getting it going. So I figured what better place instead of sitting in a museum than sit in the cemetery here, which I was literally mowing this morning, trying to keep things up to help my employees out. So for those of you who know about the story itself, and kind of casual, sitting in my vehicle, all my junk behind here from camping. So basically, it started out, at least from my end, being a journalist. I was a journalist in the New York Daily News, finding out about the first body being found. It was along the Ocean Parkway, and I don't need my notes for any of this stuff. Came across the scanner, body found, Ocean Parkway, and we didn't find out till later that it was, wrapped in burlap, and it was dumped alongside the road. So right away, as soon as we hear that, we assume it's going to be a surfer, a drowned, a fisherman. So we had suicides, people just walk off into the water, things like that. And so bodies on the beach and along the bay and ocean are not super uncommon. You get multiples every season. So not a huge thing that we rush to, but it's something we go check out, and then later we found out more. But basically, how the body was found, that was interesting. Was the police department was out there, Suffolk County Police. I don't remember the officer's name, but the dog's name was Blue. I remember that. It was a cadaver dog, and they were training the dog. So they go out there with this tube, has cotton in it, and it has body fluids they've gotten from the medical examiner's office. One of the officers will go out and place the tube, so therefore the other officer's not contaminated. And then they come out with the dog, and they let the dog run along. In the off season, the Ocean Parkway is very slow, and of course they'll shut down a lane for this. And let the dog run, and then hopefully it hits on this tube. It's a training exercise. Well, the dog goes out and runs, goes past the area of the tube, goes down a little farther, and hits on this area. They go over and check, and that's when they find the first body. And that's how it eventually comes out, and the media gets involved. Well, weeks later, they come back out. It might even have been a month later. I don't have the exact time frame. But, not too long later, they go back out now, and they're going to let the dog hit on the area where this body was decomposing. They don't need to bring out anything. So they let the dog go running out there, and literally the dog actually hits on 3 other bodies. I believe it's 3. It might have been 4, but I'm pretty sure it was 3 initially. And so it finds these bodies. So now's when the story really breaks. Now we've got something going on here. This is when the media really comes in. Now it's a dumping ground for bodies and things that are happening there. Basically, that's about the time we start getting wind about Shannon Gilbert, this young lady, sex worker, who was in Oak Beach, which is right across the area on the ocean side, a closed community, where this guy, Joe Brewer, hired her to come in for, at the beginning we were told it was a party, multiple people there, and later it changed. No, it was just him. So things have changed over the time. So anyway, so basically this guy hires this young lady to come there, and I guess around 3 in the morning she comes running out of the house screaming, "They're trying to kill me, they're trying to kill me," and is banging on doors. And she has a driver there, which is very common with these young ladies that do this sort of work. He's apparently trying to round her up too, and Joe's basically telling him, like, take her out of here. And apparently her jacket gets dumped in the driveway. So she bangs on doors. Gus Coletti apparently is the first door, but she bangs and gets a response, and Gus answers the door. And there's different variations of that where he said, she came into the house, and then others where he said she never left the porch. Basically, the car comes up. I guess it's the driver, spooks her. She's on the phone now the whole time, 911, calling for help. So this is, I believe, 20-minute phone call, which hasn't been released to anyone except the lawyer now, Johnny Ray, the family's lawyer. And so that hasn't been let to the public, which is kind of crazy. So anyway, she hides under the boat in his front yard, then takes off down this trail. and then ends up going to multiple doors. I'm not going to go through. I'll go in more depth later. And somehow ends up in the clutches or in the neighborhood of Dr. Hackett. And that's supposedly he, in the beginning, said that he interacted with her, even gave her a sedative. And then reached out and made a phone call to Mayor Gilbert, Shannon's mom, to ask her the following day if she made it home safely. And this is how the story starts coming out. We're finding it. So this guy, you got this Joe Brewer character who lived there, who hires these young ladies, and apparently he's into the pros. I'm into the pros, you know, and has these parties that involve Viagra and God knows what else. And then you have this Dr. Hackett guy on the other side of the community. It's a small community. Everyone has to know each other there, although they claim not to. So it's just things right in the beginning don't smell right. I mean, as we're in there asking questions like, what the heck? I mean, it's not just, you know, easy to put together. Everyone's pointing in different directions. And so after Mayor gets this phone call now, she doesn't, you gotta remember, Shannon doesn't live with mom. Shannon's living in New Jersey at the time. And her mom lived up in Ellenville, New York. So she calls the boyfriend or whatever, and he says, no, she never returned home from her, you know, trip to Long Island to work. So now she's trying to get back in touch with this Dr. Hackett guy who reached out and said he ran a home for wayward girls and all this other stuff. So it's a crazy story. Now, Mayor's telling us what Dr. Hackett said on the phone. Now, we have no record of that. That wasn't recorded, and Mayor doesn't even know if some crazy guy on the end of the phone. Now she realizes, no, the daughter is missing, so she's trying to find out what's going on. So now they have to start eventually a missing person thing. So now it's interstate. So they have to file the missing person report in New Jersey, and then it has to be sent to Suffolk County Police. I mean, so everything just gets delayed here. The night that Shannon was running around making the phone call to 911, the police eventually do show up at Oak Beach, and they can't find her. I mean, even Gus Coletti was at the gate, which he lived there. He was kind of like the mayor of the place, you know, and was there to make sure the police could get in. So it's just kind of crazy. Now, the whole Dr. Hackett end of it is later he says he never made the phone call. Now, they were able to prove that he did by phone records, but they don't know what he said. We have no proof on that. But, I mean, so at this point, Mayor's been 100% where she said she received the call. Why else would he reach out to her? So, and how did he even get the number? But this is kind of how the story starts. Now we have dead sex workers being dumped along the Ocean Parkway right across from where this closed community is. And then you've got this missing girl who's in the same business missing. And so basically everyone's telling us, oh no, she, at least on the police end and other people there, she's a sex worker. They disappear all the time. She probably went to Vegas to make money there, or Atlantic City and all this other stuff. And but things just didn't look right, didn't smell right. You had people in the community that, of course, didn't want the name of their community being linked to these sex workers and all the rest. So there's a lot of people are not happy with the media being there, let alone the families, and a lot of non-sympathetic people there on all sides: media, police, residents. Didn't really care that these kids are missing. And we actually had a lot of this attitude where, like, well, they're sex workers, who cares? They're hookers or whores. It's like, these are somebody's kids or somebody's daughters. I mean, it was a very frustrating case to work, and it was just strange, and it got weirder and weirder as it went on. So eventually we start to meet some of the family members, and then they're doing more searching. They find more bodies. And I believe when I was there, it was up to 10. I think it's 11 now. And there's an infant found there, a male dressed as a woman. It was just a bunch of craziness. I'm not going to go through the whole story. I'm just going to start in the beginning. I want to kind of cover how we got involved and how kind of seen it through the eyes of someone who, I've met hookers in the past. I lived in Manhattan at 34th Street. I lived at this crazy hotel temporary. I was waiting for an apartment down on 14th Street. And there were some sex workers I met there that lived in the hotel, and this one pimp guy who was quite a character. And he was, so it was the first experience I ever had with that sort of thing. And just to kind of see their world through their eyes. But that's all I really knew about this, besides whatever I saw like on TV and stuff. And so now I'm seeing the other side where these young women are actually selling themselves through Craigslist and other sites, which I don't remember them all at this point. And so it's very chancy. I mean, you're talking to someone who you don't really know and making arrangements financially, and so this is they're easy targets. They're soft targets for these serial killers, and they know people aren't. It's like someone else disappears, and someone's wife or something is going to be a little more interested in it. Here it's kind of like, it's sex workers. That's what they do. They right away blow it off on drugs, and some of these people are involved in drugs, but a lot of them aren't. I mean, it's an income. It's a way to make money. So I'll drive around as I talk a little bit, make the background a little bit more interesting. But yeah, it was a very crazy story. I got to start meeting the family members, and they were having press conferences at the parking lot at Oak Beach. They would come out and release balloons, whatever. I mean, it was just smart. You need to keep the media interested. You need to keep which helps keep the police on their toes, but it brings all the crazy people out of the woodwork. I mean, I couldn't believe how wacky. This part of the cemetery, by the way, we haven't got around to weed whacking yet, so I know it looks a little shaggy, but this is the far end. So I'll bring you back around to another end up there. You can see it's a lot to do. We've just taken this over from a contractor. Sorry to change subjects there, but just how much, this is kind of what we're doing now. Is my department's taking this over, so it bothers me to see things that aren't finished. But anyway, so it's kind of it was very strange meeting these people that came out. We actually had people coming out where the bodies were removed, and there were paint marks out in the road from Suffolk PD and the state police, and the FBI got involved later. But so the flags, the evidence flags are out there. People were going out there and stealing the soil. They wanted the dirt that the bodies decomposed into. I mean, this is the kind of wacky stuff that was going on. I mean, so it was just nuts. And then just the looky-loos that wanted to come out and be part of the media. And I'm just gonna go park here. Nice blue sky. And then everyone was the armchair detective coming out to talk about the it's my mechanic, it's my ex-husband, it was the murderer. It was just amazing the amount of nuttiness that was going on. But meantime, you gotta talk to these people. You don't want to say like someone might actually be legit and actually have some information. So you got to sort through this. And obviously, if anyone came up to seem like they really knew anything, of course, then besides us interviewing them, we want to make sure homicide, gets right to them. We don't want to be obviously screwing around with the investigation. But and we were generally, most of us are very good about calling up and saying like this is call this person. We make sure they followed up and did. And if we had to, give them our interview. It was an important, very important case, and it's still ongoing, which is as crazy as this is. And if I got the date here, so you're talking. Basically crime starting. Some of these deaths going back from 1996. I'm guessing about, I think it was 2010, if I'm not mistaken, when like the Shannon Gilbert and all that stuff started with us. But some of these bodies that were found in places go back. Now, the original bodies that were dumped, not just in Ocean Beach, the Ocean Parkway, but along the other spots out by Calverton stuff, bodies were dismembered, tattoos removed. So whoever it was realized once DNA came along, it was working well, that they were wasting their time. So the bodies were pretty much dumped intact, usually thigh bone missing or broken, which is a sign of strangulation. So it was, a lot of nuttiness going on. And then as they found more bodies, we started to meet the families. Like I said, the crazies came out. And some people were just people that really cared and wanted to get concerned. Then there's other people just wanted their moment of fame. And then it was the people just drawn to it. You figure you're mixing in possible serial killing at this point. We're pretty much knowing it's a serial killer at this point. Sex, young girls, the media. And then all of a sudden, some of the family members, people like clinging to them. They had their especially like Mayor Gilbert at this point, started to have like her own little clique that would come out. I mean, she had her daughters, of course, that came out, and I feel so bad for them. They had got such a rough time of it. But then it was the friends of the family, and then it was just the odd ones coming out. It was just you're trying to tell them like don't touch stuff. If you want to help, pass out flyers, do something useful. But it was just kind of crazy, and got a hawk out there flying around on the tombstones. That'd be a great shot. So it'll take you down that way. Then it'll probably take off on me. And it's funny when I talked to my buddy Johnny Ray about helping Mayor Gilbert. Now this is after the body was found, which I haven't even got to that point yet. But just talking to him and telling him the story, and he was going like, "My God, this is one of the craziest stories I've ever heard." And I'm telling him like, "I barely told you anything yet. I mean, it's just so ongoing." And that's the way it was. And like as I'm explaining now, I know I'm kind of bouncing around, being a little random, but it's such a long, convoluted story. Even the people who've written books and done movies on it, they've done a good job. I'm not knocking anyone, but I mean, there's so much that's left out. And especially in my case, I'm dealing with these families one-on-one. I don't mean sitting down for an interview. I mean inviting them to my house, taking them to Peter Pan Diner in Bayshore, Brightwaters actually, and or my buddy's bar, Mustang Sally's, and places like that where they can sit and I can buy them a meal and we can actually talk, and it's just very, very crazy. And that's the kind of backstory that people don't get. Seeing Mayor Gilbert come out and be this basically wallflower with all these other family members, from there becoming this, the kind of the spokesperson for it, and literally, seeing her blossom and get out and talk, taking a lead. I mean, she did a good job. She really did, and you can see the passion in it. But even with all that too, the sidetracking. I mean, then seeing almost the dating part where people are like, attracted to some of these people that are coming out. I mean, it was like, oh no, stay focused. We're here to try to find your daughter, and it was just nuts, totally nuts. And of course now I'm not just working this story. I mean, when it's got stuff breaking, I can spend some time there and work with them and stuff. But I mean, I've got to go do my regular news. I've got to, the Hamptons scene, whatever else is going on. It's just, it was just, full time, and it was draining too, and dealing with the emotions these people are going through, and having, not knowing. Some of the families, I mean, it was awful for all of them. For all the families, this is awful. Ever losing a loved one, especially a child, is just a horrific thing. You figure now someone being snatched and killed by a serial killer, and not knowing how much they suffered and what they went through. I mean, it's none of us ever want to know how it is or how it feels, but it's just a terrible thing to do. But now you're dealing with families like this, and they're reaching out for help. There's like who killed them, and how many more bodies are out there, how many more girls are in danger. And then in Mayor's case, Mayor Gilbert, now her daughter wasn't found till about a year later. So she's out there with that little bit of hope. Maybe she's okay. Maybe she's, in distress. Maybe she's, did run away like people were saying. Maybe, she's being, held prisoner. So, all these things that are going through the mind of the family. And so, for very desperate to get information out and get the flyers out and look for my daughter, and then you would be asking people, and people come up and say, "So sorry for your loss," and she right away snapped like, "What do you mean loss? We don't know she's gone." And sometimes I've been playing back some of these videos that, like I said, are 8 years old and older, and these interviews and stuff we did, families walking around Oak Beach, and some of these people just were concerned and trying to show some respect to them, and others just didn't give a shit, didn't give a rat's ass. Get out of here! What are you doing here? And just just no compassion for this mother who's gone through the possible loss of her daughter, and coming down. And you got to remember, this the financial hardships too. These are not families with money. They're living upstate New York. By the time you come down through New York and through George Washington, Throgs Neck, however you come. And it's expensive. You got the tolls, you've got the gas. Long Island's not a cheap place. I mean, so one of the stories I got was one time we're in Mustang Sally's, and I had one of the families there told me how they actually sold their, just to tell you, give you the time, plasma TVs. Sold their brand new plasma TV to a neighbor, so they had enough money to come down to this event here to help, promote and look for their, in this case, their sister. And so it's just, a lot of craziness going on. I'm not going to go too much more into this now. I'm going to keep this video kind of an introductory thing, but you'll see me as I tell this and get more into the layers of it, like an onion. But I'll try to tell you more from some of the craziness stuff that I experienced from my view, and just seeing the families develop, and the relationships from the families helping each other, and I think a lot of them are still pretty much in contact. I've fallen off the radar with a lot of them, and a lot of them kind of don't trust the media. That's a common thing these days, and so even when I try to reach out there right away, they've seen too many people profit from it, writing books, documentaries, and not really caring. Once they made the money, they're see you later, and they're gone. I mean, they don't really care. They're not out there to actually help, and to help find this. And this is an ongoing story. I mean, no one's been arrested. There's still so many unanswered questions on all sides. The families are probably the most open. I mean, they really don't want to talk now. We try to reach out to them now. I'm like this. I'm just doing on the cuff. I mean, this is a YouTube channel, no money made here, and but I mean, it's important to get out there. Like I said, I've been in touch with Johnny Ray. He's the lawyer that's been doing the pro bono work for the Gilbert family, and he's looking for help. I mean, it's still ongoing now. Of course, I'm kind of jumping ahead, way ahead. This is when I was down in North Carolina after I've left Long Island, and Mare got killed by one of her daughters, and that's for a later episode. But I mean, that's it's a tragic thing. I mean, but it's mental illness. It's it's an open and shut case. I mean, we know she did it. It was and it's terrible, and it just shows the horror some families go through. It's just terrible. But that's separate from the Long Island serial killing. That's another tragedy in the family that just happens to fall upon a family that's had horrific things happen to them. But so I'm going to go more into it. I'm going to dig up some of my old photos so I can post some of that stuff, some of the videos. I'll post on my the YouTube channel too. Some of the interviews. I've got a few of them up there now, and I've got to go through all my old hard drives. I mean, I have years of stuff out there. I mean, I just got to dig through. But let me know what you guys think about doing videos like this. I know I'm doing the creepy thing by being in the cemetery, but I do maintain this thing. It's part of falls under my department, so I'm doing double duty by being down here. Got an interesting background, plus it's something I'm looking around and seeing what we got to do. We just took this over, and it's a project. I tell you, a lot of weed whacking, and we're trying to actually have a town hall meeting tonight. I'm a town commissioner, as most of you guys know, and I'm hopefully find out what the finances are. We can see what we're going to do, and we definitely need another person to come out here. This is going to be a lot of extra work for us. But anyway, not to get sidetracked. We appreciate you guys watching, supporting our channel. I want to do more things like this. I've been told because of the stuff I've worked on. This is just one story. It happens to be one that's still pretty active. But I've got all kinds of stuff from, lots of different stories, celebrity stuff, crime, mob. I can go into a lot of the different stories there. But I'll start off with this. Like I said, this won't be a multi-series. But thanks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. If you guys can think of anything that you think you would like me to do or change on this, please make a comment there. And I'll be talking to you all soon. Thanks a lot, and everyone be safe.